Hi, welcome to this how to play video for the Zorro Dice Game, which is a brand new, fast-paced, fun dice rolling game, which is currently on Kickstarter, looking for funding. So what Zorro, the dice game, is about? An aging and battle-weary Zorro can no longer defend the people from oppression. So what he has to do is he has to find a worthy successor. Prove yourself to him by showing your heroic features and proficiency in battle by defeating the scoundrels and villains that are oppressing the citizens, and after the final battle it will be very clear to him who deserves to wear the mantle and become the next Zorro. So what you do in the game, you gather equipment by defeating heroic feats using more or less a Yahtzee King of Tokyo style dice rolling, either alone or with the help of occasional help from another player. You collect sets of heroic features to earn more dice, and then you are the only one who can use them in further pursuing your succession to the Zorro. So once the villain emerges, whoever defeats him all of the players will have a last chance, and whoever defeats him will be the next Zorro to continue the role of the known hero. Okay, so let's set up the game and show you how we quickly put everything in place to get started. So first of all, each player chooses a player token. We have 6. The game plays from 2 to 6 players and takes the respective pawn in front of him. Then we lay out the scoundrels and villains cards. You can see them on the right. We have 4 villains and 4 scoundrels, 2 in each of the colors, the green, the yellow, the blue and the red, and each of those has the respective dice placed on them. So for example, what we do is we place the villain at the back and then we slightly overlap it with the scoundrel in the respective color. This is yellow for both of them, and on top of each of them on the respective places we put the dice. The dice stand there, so when you manage to collect sets of heroic feats, then you are able to face the villains first, the scoundrels first, and then once you face them you will face one of the villains, and whoever manages to defeat them will be the winner for the game and the successor to the role of Zorro. So we lay out the scoundrel and villain like that. We put the premium equipment deck at the bottom. This is a premium equipment. You can only have one of those cards in the game, and we'll discuss about how you earn them later on. Okay, then we have the main heroic feat deck, where are different things that you're going to try to pursue, like stop an execution, avoid blackmail, etc. So you're trying to help people against the oppression from the evil and bad people that we already know and have seen in this sim and we enjoyed so far. So these are the things that you're trying to pursue so that you can help the people. So what you do is, from this card deck you pull 4 cards, but before you do that, these are the cards. You take 4 common equipment. This is a deck with a common equipment. You have various things from a rope to the hat of Zorro to gloves to the cape, etc. Each of those we're going to come back later on. They show the graph on the top, and then you have a specific dice result, which is like you already had it and you don't need to roll it, and some additional things. So from this deck we pull 4, we put them in the middle of the table, and then on top of each other we place one random heroic feat drawn from this pile. So the idea is that we need to acquire common equipment, and in order to do that we need to prove ourselves and win in this do this heroic feat and win the card which is the reward below it. Right, so these are the main dice from the game. This is the main setup. Everything is in place and we're ready to start playing the game. Next, we pick up randomly a starting player, or you can decide to pick up the player who most recently completed the heroic feat to go first. They take the 6 Zorro dice and they're ready to start the game. So, what you do on your turn? You have three main things you do. First of all, you travel, then you make an attempt, and then you can collect. So let's see each of them separately. First of all, travel. You can choose any of the 4 face-up heroic feats that are placed in the middle of the table. You take your pawn and you travel to this location in order to try to succeed in performing the specific feat. So, pick your pawn if you're the active player and place it in any of the 4 available locations to make an attempt. Okay? Before moving to the next step, you may choose up to 1 other player to join you and offer their assistance. It's up to them to decide if they want to join you, but they will get some rewards if they do and you have a victory. So, this is the first step, pick up a location and you go there. This is a travel aspect of your turn. Then we move to the attempt. You roll the 6 Zorro dice plus any additional hero dice that you have acquired by trying to perform, beating some scoundrels, or we'll see later on how you acquire them. You roll all your dice and then you try to meet the requirements on the heroic feat. For example, this one needs 2 yellow symbols with the hand, the grab, 2 grabs, and 1 thrust plus 1 more thrust in order to perform save, I'm seeing it upside down, save the farmer's daughter. So in order to do that and start playing your role in the Zorro Legacy, you need to roll these results. So you can make up to 3 re-rolls. After rolling, you select any of your dice you'd like to save and you re-roll the rest. You can do this up to 3 times and this is called the roll. So maybe you can roll, you don't like the results, you can re-roll, you can keep some of the results out and then you continue to rolling the rest. If another player joins you, you may use any of their equipment in addition to your own during your rolls. Also, you may take a 4th and final roll and may include in that roll any hero dice they have collected. So remember, these are the common equipment cards. You get them when you perform these heroic feats. So they have some, for example, already acquired results, if in case you were needing them for your fulfillment of this specific mission, saving the farmer's daughter, for example. So you can use your own equipment. Also, you can use the equipment of the person who joined you to this attempt. Also, you have the ability that they can make a 4th and final roll and include in that roll any hero dice they have previously been collected. So this is the attempt section of your turn. Last, you have the 3rd section of your turn, which is the collection phase. After your 3 rolls, if you have not met the requirement, there is no penalty. Your turn is over, and then you move to the next player. So basically, you keep rolling up to 3 times or 4 if you had the assistance of another hero player joining you, trying to get the specific results you have declared by traveling. And if you haven't performed this much, then no worries, you didn't perform this heroic feat, but then the next player goes. If you acquired the results for a specific mission, then take the heroic feat and put it in front of you. So what you do is you take this card and you place it in front of your playing area. Okay, this is a bit crowded here, but say this is the bottom section where the player was sitting. So they're going to put this card in front of them. They keep this face up so that you know what you have already performed, and this is important, right? If it matches the location of a heroic feat you already have, for example, if I have already another green one, then I take the green die and I keep it in front of me and I can always re-roll it together with the rest of the die when I do a future attempt on anything. Then we take the equipment card and keep it in front of us, or we can draw one from the top of the common equipment deck. If we do so, this goes at the bottom of the deck so that it returns in its original place. If another player was helping you in your attempt, even if you didn't end up needing their help, they have the same choice. If no one took the face-up equipment, you discard it and you put it, as we mentioned, at the bottom of this deck. Then you draw a new heroic feat to replace the missing spot and also you put the equipment below it, so that there are always 4 for each player when they start their turn. You return all hero tokens to their owner. All the pawns go back to the owner if someone was joining you and they came in this location, obviously. And then you draw, you set up the game so you are ready, as we mentioned, for the next turn. So that's it, it's very simple. Players' turn are very simple. You just have to do, one travel, try to request the help of one of the people depending on their equipment cards they have and if you find them useful, and then trying to make an attempt and collect, if you succeeded or not, the rewards. So let's talk about equipment, because it's a crucial part in the game. Equipment will help you complete heroic feats in the future and defeat scoundrels and villains down the road. There are 2 types of equipment: the common ones that you've seen here and the premium one that are here. But there are limits, of course. Each player may have up to 1 premium equipment and up to 3 equipment in total. This is combined between both common and premium equipment. If you have, for example, 3 equipment, you get another one, you choose one of the rest, you discard, so you can always have 4. If you already had 1 premium equipment and you get another one, you can discard the premium equipment already owned to get 1 in each position. But in no case you can have 2 premium equipment cards, but you can have 3 common ones, and that's okay. So if equipment is ever discarded, then it gets put at the bottom of the corresponding deck, and there is always a supply for equipment. It could be that equipment is running out, and if there is no equipment left in the respective deck, then you draw. You don't have one to draw, and no card is added in its place. And last but not least, we have the conflicts. If an equipment effect conflicts with a scoundrel or villain ability, because they all have special abilities, you can see at the bottom of the cards. Maybe you cannot see, but this is a typical example. There is text, and this scoundrel, for example, has an ability that you may only save 1 die on your first roll, and this is quite tough, and he's only the scoundrel. The respective villain, for example, says that you may only save up to 2 dice each roll, and this again is very difficult and also has more results that you need to meet in order to defeat them. But this is part of the fun in the game. So let's put this back, and we continue. So the common equipment cards, basically these cards, let me pull those back so I can show you 2 examples. The common equipment with just a die symbol, like this. This has a lead and this has a taunt. This symbol is as if you had an extra die and it has been set to that symbol. These are never used, and you may have multiple of the same symbol depending on your different equipment cards. The common equipment with an arrow, let's find one of those. I've seen one before. There it is. You have an arrow. That means that when you get this equipment, when you have it in front of you and you use it, or if you get it via another player joining you, then when this result from the main Zorro dice are rolled, this equipment allows you to reroll this specific result. For example, this is very useful when you're going in a mission that doesn't have this result and you don't want it. So if you have any of those that come and you don't want it, you can re-roll it so you get another one, hopefully one that it's needed for your mission. So this is the basic common equipment. Let's put them on the side, because now we're going to discuss about premium equipment. These are 2 examples. The premium equipment will allow you to do something special that no one else can do. They're very powerful, which is why they're limited to 1 per player. You cannot have 2, as we already mentioned. These are awards that you get later on by defeating the bad guys, and we're going to come back to those in a bit. Just to give you an example, this is a bullwhip. Up to 2 Zorro result dice you roll, you already rolled, are wild, so you can do them whatever you want. This is quite useful actually. Okay, so let's put those back again. And return to the flow of the game. So what about the hero dice? The hero dice are the ones that you acquire from here, as we mentioned before. They are placed one on the scoundrel and one on the villain, in each of the colors. So when you acquire your second heroic feat from the same location, for example, if I had a second yellow, so these two were acquired by me and they're both in front of me. This is, for example, no, it doesn't say card location, but in any way you can find it identified from the color. I think there M stands for market, if I'm not mistaken. There are different places. Anyway, the yellow location. If you get the second yellow location, I suppose is the market, you permanently acquire a hero die matching that location. Meaning then you're gonna get pick up the first die from the yellow location, and then this is yours because you took the second of those cards. And then you always roll one additional die and it's only for you, or when you join another player. If you ever acquire the third location, so that means you have 3 of those yellow cards, 1, 2, 3, then you get the second heroic die. And this is very useful because then you can see that you're gonna have lots of additional dice to roll, and this is going to be very useful because it's going to give you more chance to defeat the bad guys. If you acquire the third, then you get the second die. Each time you acquire a hero die, a scoundrel or villain emerges. You use your heroic dice on all future turns, starting from when you fight the villain or scoundrel that just emerged. Only you may use your hero dice. So, a final word about scoundrels and villains. Each time a player acquires their first heroic die from a location, like we did before, for example, we just acquired the second yellow card and we got our first heroic die, then the scoundrel emerges. We have to defeat this guy. When a scoundrel emerges, then there is a fight like a normal heroic feat, but there are some exceptions. They always are fought solo, so no one can join you in fighting this scoundrel. This is for you to fight, which is quite tough sometimes, you need to be prepared. And they have harder die requirements and an ability that makes them more difficult. Obviously, as we mentioned again, you may not use your common equipment. Ouch, this is quite bad. And also you see that they have more difficult results or more numerous results most of the times to roll. This is actually more difficult because it requires 3 of the same plus one thrust. So 3 grabs and 1 thrust. You can see them from the icons on the left of the card. Okay. So instead of being rewarded for meeting the requirement with a common equipment, that's when we do a heroic feat, we get a common equipment as we mentioned before. So instead of doing that, you're rewarded with a premium equipment, and this is how we get these nice and very powerful premium cards, by defeating scoundrels. So every player fights a scoundrel in turn order before any more heroic feats may be attempted. There is no penalty for failing to defeat the scoundrel, and when each player has fought the scoundrel, won or lost, we place them back in the box and resume attempting heroic feats like in the previous turns as we're doing. So this is very important. This is a chance to get premium equipment, but also a chance to proceed the game towards its end. So what about the villains? The card below the scoundrel. First we have the scoundrel, and then we have the villain. Again, the die will be acquired by the player who receives the third yellow location or in the respective color, and when the die is acquired, then the respective villain will emerge. So we'll always fight exactly one villain in each game. The villain emerges and the final battle begins. So you don't know which of the 4 you're going to face each time, depending on who acquires the second color die, the same color. If, for example, the guy is here and someone acquires the third blue die, then you fight the blue instead of the yellow. So players have collectively acquired both hero die for given location, then the villain matching that location emerges, or the last heroic feat from the deck has been drawn and collected, and then we're going to have the heroic feat dictating which villain we're going to face. Each player gets exactly one attempt to fight the villain. They do so in turn order, starting with the player following whoever triggered them. You fight them just like you could do with a basic scoundrel. The difference is that they're much more powerful, they require more dice results, and have a much harder ability, as we have already seen. So, you do not draw equipment if you win, obviously. And if a player defeats the villain, you put the player token standing up in the center of the table. That means that you, yourself, defeated him, so you're standing up. If you haven't defeated him and you lost, you have to put your token standing down. Once each player had one attempt at the villain, one of the things, or the following things, will happen. If only one player defeated the villain, so if for example we're playing a game and only the red player managed to defeat the villain, only his pawn is standing, then he is the winner of the game and he becomes the next Zorro. If multiple players defeated the villain, for example the yellow and the red, then the two colors, the yellow and the red, have a duel to face each other and decide who is going to become the next Zorro. If no players defeated the villain, all of them failed, then all players will duel to see who becomes the next Zorro. So the last thing remaining is to see what happens with duels in case of ties or if no one defeated the villain. So if the next Zorro has not been decided by fighting the villain and being the solo winner against him, a duel is held as a tiebreaker. Each player involved in the duel takes a turn, 3 normal rolls like before, still using their equipment and hero dice, but trying to get as many thrusts, this is the symbol with the sword, as possible. Anytime a player rolls less than another player, they're left behind, so they're losing the duel. If there is again a tie in the most rolls, then those 2 people or 3 people who tied for the most keep dueling until only one person is left, and only one will be the final successor for the Zorro. So this is how the game plays. As you can see, it's very easy to get behind, very simple. You just, after a couple of turns, you're just rolling die, you know exactly where you want to go. You're requiring specific help from different people depending on their equipment. You have to be careful with the abilities of the scoundrels and the abilities of the villains, because they may impact you more than other players and you need to be well prepared. Everything looks very nice. This is a very compact game. I like that it comes in a small box to take with you. There's a lot of things to have fun about here and enjoy, like the dice rolling, the Yahtzee mechanism or King of Tokyo style dice rolling to get the results, the special abilities of the scoundrels, the special abilities of the villains, the fact that occasionally you get the chance to require the help from other people, and they may come along the way to get additional equipment for themselves and be better prepared. Lots of things to do here. This looks a very fun and interesting game, very sitting heavily quite a lot on the fun factor. Looks very promising and very fun, and I'm sure this is something that you can really take with you and have a blast about trying to get the results, and especially the fact that you're going to be fighting specific situations, doing heroic feats, trying to become a worthy successor of the Zorro the Legend. So another good pro for the game is that it plays up to 6 players, and this is quite good for dice rolling games. Usually they don't go up to 6 players. Some of them do, but not all of them. So bottom line, this is a quite fun game. Looks very nice, has nice aesthetics, looks very good. Hopefully you got a real good understanding on how the game plays, and I got a picture if this game is for you or not. If you like the game, and they're currently on Kickstarter, so I will put the link in the description so you can go and check it out for yourself and get your chance to grab a copy of the Zorro Dice Game. Many thanks for watching, and we'll be coming back with additional videos to help you decide about your next game. Many thanks for watching.